Welcome back to my channel, my constitutional republic loving friend. What's this, you might ask? Not democracy loving friend? Democracy is also good. However, something I guess I am just being reintroduced to because I don't think it's the first time I learned it. I think it's just bubbling back to the surface. So, here in America, some believe that the United States is a democracy, but it is actually the perfect example of a constitutional republic. A pure democracy would be a form of government in which the leaders, while elected by the people, are not constrained by a constitution as to its actions. In a republic, however, elected... I should have clicked on the link. Dang it. Well, okay, we have the Constitution here, so they have to listen to that. So here in America, we are not a pure democracy. We are a constitutional republic, and I love that. And if you're finding your way onto my channel, I think that those things also are near and dear to your spirit. If I'm looking a little bit haggard today, it's because it's Friday. I have been working all week, overtime, 3 days of the week, this past week. I did a podcast last night as of this filming, but it'll be several days after. So on Thursday nights, I've been doing a podcast continually with Pod Squad. You can check it out in my live stream section, and it's been a lot of fun. So shout out to 𝗬𝗟𝗪𝗘𝗢𝗧𝗜𝗢𝗍 and the rest of the squad. Alright, so I'm going to be doing a couple different things. I said I hate editing, and I still do, but I'm going to, for you. So keep that in mind. Remember me. We're going to get into the news. I'm going to break down major headlines throughout the week. I'm not going to break this one up into specific topics. They're headlines I have highlighted throughout the week. So they're just going to be a hodgepodge collection. So while, yes, a segue. Yep, I guess I didn't have a segue. So I'm trying a couple different things. Editing is one of them. So why don't I stop talking? I'll roll the intro and we'll get into the news. Oh, dang it. That didn't work. Welcome back, bub. Oh, I shrunk. Just kidding. I gotta play along sometimes. Personality adds something to these videos. So I am told. So I am researching. Let's go over headlines really quickly before we get more in-depth with them. I'm going to try to not get too in-depth in any one of them. I do want to keep the video shorter. That being said, there's only so short I can make it, or I'm willing to make it. So starting off here, U.S. life expectancy drops to nearly 30-year low. What this means for Americans, by 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏 from 4 days ago as of the 17th. Next up, we have new rules force Mainers to disable furnaces for heat pump rebates. This is Bangor Daily News by 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏𝗏, November 15th. Wow, that's no real surprise, to be honest. I wish I could say it was a surprise, but that is exactly the direction that we're heading. I want to throw some pop culture in here, and I want to give a shout out to Patrick Dempsey because he is from Lewiston. He came back here recently and played with some of the local teams and just tried to bring some levity to the situation that we've been facing as the state of Maine. I am going to do a follow-up video on Lewiston mass shooter. I'm not going to say that disgusting, despicable human being's name. He's going to be referred to, he's not even a he, it will be referred to as the Lewiston mass shooter. Patrick Dempsey was there for his state, his home state. So Patrick Dempsey finally uses his natural Maine accent in new horror film. Interesting. That was also, these past three have been by Bangor Daily News. The last one is by Emily Burnham. This one is by Melissa Lizotte from November 14th. Supreme Court ruling could stifle Caribou's affordable housing plans. Great, great. This is all checking out. We're right on track for Maine, the way life should not be. 92 Moose has human remains discovered by Maine land surveyors Tuesday morning by Matt James. News Center, Maine. This is a video. I'm trying to spice things up, throw a little bit of everything in there. Maine's rejection of Question 7 puts majority of voters at odds with federal ruling. WABI 5. There are more jobs in Maine now than ever before, report says. By WMTW. And then we're going to end up with this disgusting little thing. I don't even want to use disgusting that closely affiliated with the Lewiston mass shooter. There is such a dichotomy in this tick is disgusting. The Lewiston mass shooter is a inhumane animal that is spending eternity in hell. Rightly so. So those are the headlines. And I guess now at this point we have nothing to do but allow me to get comfortable and get into it. Back to Healthsia. U.S. life expectancy drops to nearly 30-year low. What this means for Americans. Well, it's probably because of the sugar count. The amount of processed food we have, the amount of fast food we have, the poisons and toxins in our everyday needs. It's probably because we don't drink enough water. Those are just 5 right off the old noggin. So according to recent data from Organization for Economic Co-operation and Development, OECD, life expectancy for Americans has dropped to the lowest levels in nearly 3 decades. At present, the United States has a middling average life expectancy of 76.4 years, which puts the country behind almost every other developed nation. The last time the country reported lower numbers was in 1996, according to the World Bank. And here we have everything, including medication, that I just learned from a coworker today is oil-based. Did you know that most medication is oil-based? That shit ain't natural. You're damn right it's not natural. No wonder. The OECD report ranks all countries analyzed, and the United States is listed 34th in the place this year. In 2003, it was ranked 10th. The precipitous fall places the country among the top 6 with largest declines. Globally, the average life expectancy rate was 80.3 years old, with Switzerland having the highest, 83.9 years old, and Latvia reporting the lowest at 73.1 years old. I was literally just talking, that same coworker I mentioned that told me his mother worked at Johns Hopkins, that she learned that medication is oil-based. And he reported that to me just today. I was standing in line, waiting to leave work, and we were discussing age, and we were talking with an older gentleman. He was probably in his 60s. He has a higher life expectancy rate than I do at 33 years old. he will probably live longer if we keep up this trajectory than the majority of people in my age bracket. And I don't want to say myself, because I do have genetic traits that are predisposed to a longer life. My grandfather died at 96. But not only that, I've taken care of my body. I've drank plenty of water. I have regularly exercised, and I try to moderate. I don't go on a diet, but I don't eat a lot of sugar. I try not to have energy drinks. There are times, I get it, there are times. But sugar, I know. I try to cut that down. Lots of water. Lots of water. So moving on, again, I'm trying to keep this video within an understandably concise amount of time. New rules force Mainers to disable furnaces for heat pump rebates. 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 giving rebates for large heat pump systems in homes received little publicity, but both Governor Janet Mills and oil companies are concerned that one major requirement could pose safety problems. Okay, wait. Before I react. The dispute between Efficiency Maine, the quasi-state agency that runs energy-saving programs, and the Maine Energy Marketers Association, an industry group for heating oil and propane companies, is over 1 point listed in the new rebate guidelines, saying fossil fuel boilers must be disabled or connected only to a generator to get the biggest rebates. This is notably because heat pumps are often adopted with the promise that homeowners can retain their existing systems as a backup heat source. Heat pumps are also key to Mills' energy goal. The Democratic governor has worked closely with Efficiency Maine on incentives, making her break with the agency over the new rules a rare one. Strange, that is rare. What are you doing, Governor Janet Mills? Okay, I may not read this all because I am trying to keep it concise. This is something to get into. So let me know, because I do want your feedback. Leave it in the comments below, please, which of these you would like me to dive into deeper, because I will gladly take on something that you would deem worthy of our time. Patrick Dempsey finally uses his natural Maine accent in new horror movie by Emily Burnham. Spooky. Ferrari. Lewiston native and newly minted sexiest man alive. I get why they chose him. Patrick Dempsey got to use his natural accent in a horror movie film premiering this weekend in movie theaters. Thanksgiving director and Boston area native Eli Roth told Fangoria magazine this week that Dempsey, who plays the sheriff of Plymouth, Massachusetts in the film, asked him if it was okay if he used his normal speaking voice for the role, something Roth eagerly agreed to. When we talked about the character, he said, "Do you want me to do it with a light New England accent?" Roth recalled. And I said, I'm from there, so it tortures me when someone does the accent wrong, because it's a very difficult accent to do. Luckily, Dempsey, who was born in Lewiston and grew up in nearby towns of Turner and Buckfield. He lived in Buckfield? Hey, shout out to the bucket. Fuck it. We're going to the bucket. No endorsement. They may not even want me to call them out. Shout out. Fuck it. Back up here. Speaking that way normally, though in his early career, agents and other industry people told him he'd never be cast in anything if he talked with his accent. He says, when I became an actor and I went to New York City, they said, you have to lose that accent or you're never going to get work. So I worked with a vocal coach to lose my accent. That's so sad. Roth told the magazine, I asked, have you ever done this in a movie before? He says, no, I've never used my natural accent in a film before. So this is really how Patrick Dempsey talks. It's great. Huh. Comedic slasher film Thanksgiving is the third movie to come out that's based on the mock trailers seen in Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez's double feature from film Grindhouse. The other two being Rodriguez's Machete and Jason Eisner's Hobo with a Shotgun. In the movie, a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy, and a Thanksgiving-themed serial killer comes to the town of Plymouth to terrorize residents. Dempsey is riding a career high at the moment, having been named last week as People's Magazine's 2023 Sexiest Man Alive. In addition to Thanksgiving, he'll also soon be seen in Ferrari, a biopic of Enzo Ferrari directed by Michael Mann, in which Dempsey plays racing driver Piero Traffi. In real life, Dempsey is a professional sports car racer, having competed in prestigious races including 24 Hours of Le Mans and Rolex 24 at Daytona. Dempsey has said in previous interviews that he could devote his career full-time to auto racing. He would. Whoa. I didn't know that about Patrick Dempsey. So I grew up in Winslow. Shout out Winslow. And Waterville is right across the river. So Winslow, Waterville are very much like one place. Just like Lewiston, Auburn. So if you're from Maine, or if you visited Maine, you have Lewiston and you have Auburn. They're separated by a river and a couple bridges. People in Maine call that LA. So I grew up in Winslow, and Waterville had a Patrick Dempsey Center. So I grew up seeing his name all the time. So it's awesome that he has done so much for just his state, where he's from. Stephen King and Anna Kendrick, they're also people that have done stuff for the state of Maine, and I applaud that. Good work, y'all. All right, another Bangor Daily News. Supreme Court ruling could stifle Caribou's affordable housing plans by Melissa Lizotte. A tax-acquired home. I'm going to read the caption first for this picture. A tax-acquired home at 6 Midland Street in Caribou left was demolished. Right. In an attempt to clean up the notorious blighted property, local officials fear that a recent Supreme Court decision could prevent them from taking such action in the future. Okay, what's going on here? Blighted properties are in the minds of Caribou city leaders more than ever, but a recent U.S. Supreme Court ruling could change how quickly officials clean up those properties and create more affordable housing. In May, the Supreme Court ruled in the case of Tyler v. Hennepin County, Minnesota, that municipalities could no longer keep proceeds from sales of tax-acquired properties that exceed the amount of taxes owed by a property owner. Caribou had previously used sale proceeds to pay for cleaning up or demolishing blighted properties, in hopes of restoring neighborhoods and increasing the city's housing stock. I have a couple thoughts already. Oh, it's longer. So maybe what I'll do is I'll take a couple of these that are longer and break them down and just cover like one or two, but look at them from a couple different angles. Because I am trying to make this a quicker video for y'all with a short attention span. There's one of you that I'm calling out particularly. Still no comment down below. What I think I'm going to start doing is making fun of my coworkers, because a couple of them know that I am on YouTube, and this way I can make fun of them online, and if they want to have any say, they'll have to leave a comment down below, or we'll steal your cheese sticks, because your mom still packs them for you. We know. So that is something. Yeah, so, okay. But this is just to get headlines so that you guys can look into this more for yourself if you would like. And then if you want me to, I would gladly as well. Just let me know in the comments below. 92 moose. Human remains discovered by Maine land surveyors Tuesday morning by Matt James. According to a press release from the Maine Department of Public Safety spokeswoman Shannon Moss, human remains have been discovered in Maine. The release indicated that a surveying crew was working off of Red Bridge Road in the city of Ellsworth, Maine, on Tuesday morn, incidentally stumbled upon human skeletal remains. So Ellsworth, for those not familiar with the state of Maine, it is on the coast. It is one of the farthest east place you can go in the U.S. Not the farthest, but very, very close. Moss says that the Ellsworth Police Department immediately notified Maine State Police of the discovery. As such, Maine State Police deployed their Major Crimes Unit north to the scene to take over the investigation. Since then, the skeletal remains have been taken to Augusta to the office of the Chief Medical Examiner. The medical examiner will begin working on figuring out what led to the death, as well as attempting to make a positive identity on the remains. Moss said at this time there is no public safety threat, as it appears the remains had been in the woods for quite some time. So realistically, you should have been panicking already. Like, why are you starting now? It happened a long time ago. You should have been freaking out then. The investigation remains open, and we will continue to update the story as more information becomes available to us from the Maine State Police. Watch, I'll see this headline in my YouTube videos to go make a follow-up, and there'll be none. I'm just kidding. I'm not calling anyone out. I'm just saying that seems to be the trait. Hey, cut it out. So this started playing against my will. Luckily, it was muted, so here we are with Maine News Center, Maine. Maine's rejection of Question 7 puts majority of voters at odds with federal ruling. Oops. Bear with me, folks. I'm figuring this out. Oh, clearly.
Dana, thank you. We are now 1 week removed from Election Day and with results in hand.
Voters rejected Question 7, which would have amended the state constitution to allow non-residents to circulate petitions here in Maine, which is already allowed after a federal court ruling. But as our Donovan Lynch reports, the impact of this vote is perhaps greater than a simple formality.
How much power should out-of-staters have to create new laws in Maine? Not much, if you ask the voters.
It was a fairly decisive defeat.
1 week ago, Question 7 fell short at the ballot box. It would have removed language in the Maine Constitution that bans non-residents from circulating citizens' petitions. It's something that's gone unenforced after a federal judge ruled it unconstitutional. But 68% of voters last Tuesday didn't seem to mind.
The response from Maine voters on Question 7 is a protest vote. I agree with Mainers.
Secretary of State Shenna Bellows presented Question 7 on the ballot out of professional obligation, despite being personally against the proposal. To her, the fact that Maine sided with principle over federal law isn't all that surprising.
Quite frankly, those who are circulating petitions in our state that will then potentially lead to state law should be registered voters.
Well, most of Maine soundly rejected Question 7. A few towns like Orono went in the other direction, if only by a few dozen votes. Maine's largest college town narrowly voting in favor of Question 7. To out-of-staters like Jules Ostrovsky, a lack of residency shouldn't totally bar someone from involvement in matters of state politics.
Anyone, no matter where they're from, should be able to, provide a solution to a problem that affects them.
But even in places like Orono, with large seasonal populations, there's concern over ceding privileges like starting a citizen's petition to people with 1 foot out of the community.
A harmful effect would be you're changing things that other people might agree with, and you're not even from here, so it shouldn't really matter to you.
Despite Maine's rejection of an effort to strike down part of the Maine Constitution, a federal judge still ruled on the matter.
Whatever the courts decide about the constitutionality of a law or a state constitution supersedes the language itself.
Leaving the victory against Question 7 purely ceremonial. Donovan Lynch, News Center, Maine.
Secretary of State Shanna Bellows adds that she does not predict a repeat of Question 7 to show up in coming elections because of the wide margin of defeat.
So what that says to me is that the federal judge needs to reevaluate and say, okay, well, clearly the people all want one thing. That's something that needs to be looked into, is what court case. It doesn't specify. It doesn't say X, V, Y, or like A, V, B. Someone versus someone is what I'm trying to get at. It doesn't say that. So I want to know the specific case. I'll have to dig into it more. This is not the time or place for that. This video is already longer than the one person I'm calling out with a short attention span. Hopefully you're still with me. So here we are, close to our last article. There are more jobs in Maine now than ever before, report says, by WMTW. The Maine Department of Labor says the number of non-farm jobs in the state has reached an all-time high. According to a report released Friday, the number of non-farm wage and salary jobs increased by 1,100 in October to 650,300. That number comes after a larger than usual upward revision for September and breaks a trend of little change for the first half of the year. I need to get away from that ad down there. Labor officials say almost half of the job growth in October was in retail. Jobs increased by 8,900 from 1 year ago, and the average for August to October increased by 3,700 from 3 months through July. The unemployment rate in Maine in October was 2.8, up slightly from 2.7 in September. Unemployment in Maine has been below 4% for 23 consecutive months, the second longest period on record. Okay, so I live an hour from my job, and I don't have to take the same route to get there and back. So I cover a decent amount of Maine. I mean, Maine is huge, so an hour is 1/6 of the state, like 1/8 of the state. It is a minute amount. However, it still gives you a good feel from coast to Midland. And so I see help wanted signs all the time. So I don't fully understand 2.8% unemployment compared to, it's up slightly. So that is also something. There are help wanted signs everywhere. And I know that most places, even if they don't have help wanted signs, they could use help. So people, there are jobs. I will admit there are jobs. If you are a skilled, hard worker, do not settle. Just keep grinding. Keep your nose to the grindstone. Look up enough to take care of you and yourself and your well-being and your family, and then your community as well. Each of us, especially men, owe that. It's just something innate. It makes a society better. Step up. Don't complain. Just help out when and where you can. And if that means that you job hop for a while until you find something that really suits you, do it. Hard-working individuals right now are a premium, so don't settle for something just because you don't think there's anything else out there. There is. And this article is clearly saying there are jobs. However, I'm calling out BS on 2.8%. Maybe that's what's on record, but the amount of people that are not working in the state of Maine is much higher than that, and I do not understand how they're making it by. If you're someone here in the state of Maine and you're not on unemployment, but you're also not working, please leave a comment down below. Or if you don't want to expose yourself like that, there's links in my, I pointed to, it's somewhere here. click on my bio, my info. You can find my email. Send me an email. We'll discuss that way. I don't need to call you out or anything. I just am genuinely curious how people can get by without working, without being on unemployment. What are they doing? How are you? Is it disability? I do know that 1/3 of my paycheck goes to taxes. Like 2/3 of my paycheck is mine. Kind of. I mean, like by the time I'm done paying all my bills, I get paid every week. By the time I'm done divvying it out, savings is almost impossible. So, I mean, savings is like scraping. Okay, I have a pile of change. This is my savings. Like that's what we've come to. That's what we've come to. But I, for one, want change. And I hope you also do. I guess I shouldn't have ended on this horror note, but let's see what this little creepy thing has.
Here in your health news, we're looking at an invasive
I'm sorry, what?
Here in your health news. Here in your health news, we're looking at an invasive tick species, that's really causing an alarm here.
Ew.
Researchers say this invasive tick species is spreading across the country. The Asian longhorn tick arrived in 2017, but researchers are now raising the alarm after 3 cows in Ohio died from thousands of bites. Now, that tick has been spotted in 19 states so far, but not Texas. It's still unclear whether they can pass diseases to humans, but they appear to be less attracted to human skin. No.
Okay, let me get off of this. I mean, honestly, if we didn't already have so many worries, just throw on ticks that will just jump on cows by the thousands and bite it to death, gnaw it to death, like, ugh. We're living in the end times, yo. Are you guys prepping? I mean, are you storing up just rice, beans, seeds for next spring so you can plant your own little home garden? Like, we gotta start, not just Mainers, but as individuals worldwide. We have been spoiled for the last 150 to 200 years, depending on where you are, maybe less worldwide. But we have been spoiled. We have been privileged because there was a generation, there were times before when our ancestors 1,000, 2,000 years ago had to completely rely on nature to provide for them. And if they didn't, they scraped by. So we are blessed in that way. And here in America, we are giving every cent we have, whether we want to or not. It is happening, but we are still blessed, so we need to keep that in mind. But those of us that have the gumption, that are observant and can look around and see the BS, join forces and strip the gloves off, because it's time to just get down and dirty, because no one is coming. No one is coming to help us. America is helping these other countries, but if America needs help, we're on our own. And even from within America, we are on our own. The government is not looking out for us accordingly. And if that's the case, then we, the people, need to get together and demand differently. So, thank you for joining with me on this video. It is longer than I intended. But that being said, it's important what we're getting into, and I'm not constrained by commercial breaks and by hour segments and whatnot. So skip around if you need to. Maybe I'll figure out a way to put in chapters that may be more time than I have to dedicate. Even doing editing, because it has to render and then I have to upload it and then I have to do all the post uploading. It gets a little much, but this is something near and dear to my heart. So if you have found any of this information beneficial or helpful, if there's something you would like me to cover more in depth, please go ahead and leave a comment down below. And if you haven't already, go ahead and check out the Chinese marijuana farms that are taking over the state of Maine. And what is the state doing about it? I'm going to need to do a follow-up about that. So until next time, thank you for following along with me, my constitutional republic-loving friend.